Voiceover begins with a gentle, emotional tone. Have you ever witnessed a miracle unfold right before your eyes? Imagine a young woman, paralyzed and hopeless, until an unexpected whisper changed everything. And walking forward, the rain continued through the night, not a storm, but a slow, thoughtful drizzle, as if the sky, too, needed to exhale. The garden soaked it in, petals tipping gently to the weight of water. Inside the house, everything smelled like earth and lemon oil, the way memories sometimes return in scent long before they return in speech. Are you ready to discover the power of a single act of kindness? Maya al-Rashid awoke before sunrise. Her room was dim, quiet, filled with the rhythmic tapping of raindrops against the windows. She didn't reach for the sketchbook. She didn't call for anyone. She simply sat up, her bare feet touching the cold wood floor for the first time in nearly 3 months. She didn't tremble. Downstairs, Maya Williams was already awake. She had always been an early riser, a habit formed in years of night shifts and years of loss. This morning, she stood barefoot in the kitchen, brewing tea in silence. She didn't need to knock on Maya's door anymore. The girl opened it herself. I'm ready early, Maya said, her voice soft but certain. Williams turned, surprised, and smiled. I can see that. The girl stood without the wheelchair, gripping a cane, but steady. Let's walk, she said. Rain's still coming. I know. They went out into the garden, barefoot together. The grass was slick, but Maya didn't hesitate. Her steps were cautious, deliberate, but sure. With each footfall, she left behind a print in the wet soil. Each one more defined than the last. Where do you want to go? Williams asked. Maya stopped. The stable? Williams hesitated. The old stables at the edge of the estate hadn't been touched since the accident. Dust, silence, and regret lived there. Are you sure? She asked. Maya nodded. I need to see where it started. So they went slowly but together. The stables were quiet, the wood groaning slightly under the pressure of time. The paddocks were empty, the scent of old hay still lingering in the air. Maya stepped inside, the cane tapping softly on the concrete. She turned to Williams. They told me not to get on that day, she said. The sky looked like this. Damp, gray. Williams didn't interrupt. I was stubborn, Maya continued. I thought control meant power. I thought fear meant weakness. She walked to the center of the stall where the saddle still hung on a wall hook. I need to forgive her, she whispered. Williams tilted her head. Who? The girl who fell. Silence settled. She didn't fail, Maya said, her voice trembling. She was just human. Williams stepped forward, placed a hand on her shoulder, and brave. Maya let the tears fall. They weren't loud, weren't desperate, just honest. The kind that washed something clean, not away. When they returned to the house, Sheikh Omar was waiting in the foyer. His eyes immediately scanned her wet hair, muddy feet, but standing tall. You went out in this? He asked. Yes, Maya said before Williams could answer. I needed to. He looked at her for a long moment, then nodded. Good. Later that day, Maya sat in the sunroom, legs tucked beneath her, watching the rain soften into mist. Lena appeared at the door, carrying a small box with ribbons taped around the edges. It's for you, Lena said, grinning. Maya opened the box slowly. Inside were dozens of tiny origami horses, each one folded in a different color. I made one for every step you've taken, Lena said proudly. Maya's eyes filled again. They're beautiful, she whispered. Thank you. I'll keep folding, Lena promised. Until you can run again. Williams, standing behind them, smiled. But she knew the truth. Some steps were louder than running. Some quiet strides could thunder through a life louder than hooves. That evening, Maya wrote a letter for herself to the girl who stood up. You are not defined by the moment you fell. You are the courage it took to remember how to rise. She folded the paper, placed it in a drawer beside the sketchbook, and turned out the light. In the quiet of her room, the rain finally stopped, and the silence that followed wasn't empty. It was full of possibility. 2 days after the rain cleared, a quiet energy buzzed through the estate. Can a single step change a life forever? It wasn't loud or hurried, but something was undeniably shifting. Maya al-Rashid, who once refused to open her eyes before noon, now woke with the sunrise. And this morning, she stood in front of the tall mirror in her bedroom, not to check her reflection, but to remind herself that she had returned to it. She had dressed herself, brushing out her hair with slow, deliberate strokes. A simple white shirt, soft gray pants. She wore no makeup, no accessories, but her posture alone made her look like royalty reborn. The mansion on Linenwood Drive had over 24 rooms, 12 bathrooms, 2 kitchens, and an indoor lap pool. But since the accident, Maya's world had shrunk to the size of a bedroom with thick velvet curtains and a view of the garden she no longer visited. It was day 16 since she last spoke. Day 92 since the fall. The air inside the house was colder than the autumn breeze outside. Maids whispered less. Staff walked softer. The dining room was filled with soft morning light. Maya entered slowly, her cane tapping rhythmically against the tiles. She didn't wait to be seated. She approached the table, pulled out her own chair, and sat down between the two people who had silently orbited her recovery. Her father cleared his throat. You look, he paused, not knowing which word wouldn't sound like a comparison to the past. Here, she finished for him. He smiled. Yes, you look here. They ate quietly at first. Toast, poached eggs, fresh fruit. Lena had helped plate everything with extra care, arranging the strawberries in heart shapes. After a while, Maya pushed her plate slightly away and looked at her father. Baba, she began, voice steady. Can I ask you something honest? He set down his fork. Always. Were you ashamed of me after the accident? The question floated between them like a glass balloon. Fragile, shimmering, dangerous to touch. Sheikh Omar didn't answer immediately. His eyes dropped to his napkin, then back to her. No, he said finally. I was afraid. Of what? Of what it meant to not be able to fix something, he said. Of what it meant to watch you suffer and not know how to help. Maya's throat tightened. She glanced briefly at Williams, who nodded, silently encouraging her to keep going. I thought you blamed me, she said. I thought you were disappointed that I couldn't bounce back the way people expected me to. He shook his head. I wasn't disappointed. I was devastated, but not because you couldn't walk, because I lost the sound of your voice. You've always been so alive. And then you were just gone. They sat in silence for a moment. This time, the silence was not avoidance. It was acknowledgement. Williams broke it gently. Pain makes both the injured and the witness feel helpless. But healing happens when both admit that out loud. Sheikh Omar leaned forward, elbows on the table. I've spent my life in control, building, managing, buying solutions. But with you, none of that mattered, and I didn't know how to just be your father. Maya reached across the table, placing her hand over his. You do now, she said. That afternoon, the sun grew warmer. Mia walked through the garden alone for the first time, her steps slow but unassisted. Rosa watched from the kitchen window, hand over her heart. She paused by the rose bushes and reached into her sweater pocket. Inside was one of Lena's origami horses, a tiny blue one. She placed it gently on the edge of the soil beneath the strongest bloom as if planting both memory and promise. Maya Williams met her there carrying a notebook. Ready for today's writing? Maya nodded. Let's try something harder. Williams handed her the notebook. Write a letter to the person who needs to forgive you. Maya hesitated. But I didn't do anything wrong. Sometimes we carry guilt anyway, Williams said. Even when it isn't deserved. Mia took the pen slowly. Dear me, she wrote. I'm sorry for judging you, for thinking you had to be brave all the time, for mistaking silence for strength and collapse for failure. She paused, her hand trembling slightly. You didn't fail. You endured. You survived the fall, and now you rise on your own. She closed the notebook. It's not finished, she whispered. It doesn't have to be, Williams replied. Healing doesn't come with deadlines. That evening, Sheikh Omar knocked softly on her bedroom door. May I? She smiled. Yes. He entered and saw the sketchbook open on her bed. It was a drawing of the garden, but with tiny silhouettes of people woven in herself. Williams, Lena, Rosa, even him. You're putting us back into the story, he said. She nodded because I realized I never left it. He sat beside her. Tomorrow the clinic sends their report. They want to evaluate your recovery. Maya looked up. Will they decide if I'm better? He smiled softly. Only you can decide that. She leaned her head against his shoulder. I still have bad days, she murmured. Then we'll face them together. In the silence that followed, she heard it again. And not the echo of what had been lost, but the steady, quiet rhythm of something returning. Her voice, their bond, and the sound of her own story stepping forward. Morning light filtered through the high windows of the estate, illuminating dust motes dancing over the wooden floors. Today marked a turning point. The specialist team from the Beverly Hills Clinic would arrive in a few hours to evaluate Maya Al-Rashid's progress. They would measure strength, balance, range of motion, everything measurable. But Maya, her father, and Maya Williams knew what mattered most couldn't be quantified. Downstairs, Williams prepared a final cup of jasmine tea. She added a pinch of honey, stirring quietly. She glanced outside where Lena and Rosa arranged Maya's origami horses at the garden's edge like sentinels of hope. Each paper sculpture marked a step. First stand, first word, first lone step. Now came assessment. Sheikh Omar entered the kitchen dressed in a crisp shirt and tie he'd long abandoned, worn for ritual more than need. He paused behind Williams. Are you ready? He asked. She turned slowly. As ready as we'll ever be. He nodded and offered his hand. Let's greet them together. In the foyer, clinic staff filed in. Therapists, doctors, and an administrative assistant with a clipboard. They greeted Omar politely, crossing to shake hands. Maya walked in moments later, leaning on her cane, supported subtly by Williams. The onlookers paused. One of the therapists, Dr. Jensen, blinked. Is this your daughter? Yes, Omar said, quietly proud. Dr. Jensen nodded, glancing at Mia's steady posture. Good morning. We're here to assess functional progress and set the next goals. Maya spoke, her voice soft but clear. I'm here to learn if I can walk further. The group paused again. William stepped forward. We focused on connection over mechanics, listening to her body rather than testing it. A familiar voice, the administrative assistant, cleared her throat. Assessment usually happens on a mat indoors. Maya responded. I want to see what I can do outside. Silence. Then, Dr. Jensen offered a respectful nod if that's what she wants. With that permission, Maya and Williams guided her back through the garden path. Cane tapping gently on stone. Staff followed quietly, anticipation humming in the air. The rain had washed everything clean. Grass glistened, rose petals glowed like lanterns. Maya stopped halfway and smiled. I'm not scared, she said. Just careful. Dr. Jensen circled around, clipboard ready but pen still. She observed each movement, her face thoughtful. Maya placed her cane aside. She stepped forward. 1, 2, 3. Then she paused. The group held their breath. 4, 5, 6. Then a small stumble. Her knee buckled, but she didn't fall. William's hand steadied her briefly as she adjusted. Great recovery, Dr. Jensen whispered. Maya swallowed. Thank you, she continued. S8 steps. 10, a number rose from the crowd. 10 steps. Each one a defiance of fear. An echo of a voice that once lay silent. Dr. Jensen scribbled on the clipboard. Specialists exchanged glances. A quiet hum of approval. Then the unexpected happened. Maya paused, turned to her father. Cane in hand, posture proud. "Father," she said. "I walked for me and for everyone who helped me find my voice again." Her words landed like stones in still water, rippling outward. Omar's eyes welled. He swallowed hard. "You amaze me," he whispered. Maya turned to Williams. "Thank you for listening." Williams nodded, tears glistening. "You did all the work. I just held space." A clinic nurse stepped forward. "We'd like to recommend gradual outdoor walking sessions and hydrotherapy next." Maya considered that. "I'm ready." The assessment concluded inside with tests and charts, but something changed in the house. Not in graphs or gate scores, but in hearts. Later, as the sun began to lower, Lena placed a final origami horse at the end of the trail. Maya walked today. It glowed golden in the evening light. At dinner, Sheikh Omar proposed a toast to courage. Not the kind that dresses up loud, but the kind that trembles, stands, and steps forward despite fear. Nia smiled, lifting her glass of mint tea. To every voice that didn't give up, they drank. That night in bed, Maya opened her notebook and wrote a promise. "I walked today not to prove anything to them, but to prove something to myself." That hope can speak louder than doubt. She closed her eyes, the estate quiet around her. Outside, the origami horses shimmered under starlight. Silent witnesses to a journey not yet complete, but already remarkable. And inside, a girl who had fallen found a courage that wouldn't let her voice be silenced again. Morning light spilled through the grand windows, illuminating the elegant marble foyer where dozens of origami horses now stood guard. Lena had folded more than 50, each marking a milestone in Maya's healing. Sheikh Omar walked past them, pausing at each. He closed his eyes briefly as though absorbing every lesson each paper sculpture held. Downstairs, Maya Williams brought tea into the study. Omar sipped, turning the porcelain cup slowly in his hands. "She's ready," he said quietly. "For what's next?" Williams nodded. "I believe she is." Upstairs, Maya Al-Rashid stood before the mirror again. No wheelchair here. She turned slightly, testing posture. Then she bent to tie her running shoes, a soft blue pair Lena had brought as a gift. She paused, finger hovering over the laces. She was about to tie loops she may never run in. Instead, she tucked the shoes back in their box and slipped on a simple pair of sneakers, something she could walk in, maybe even jog one day, but right now something she'd trust. The front doors opened. Lena, Rosa, and the specialist team waited in the foyer. They looked up as Maya appeared, cane in hand, smile steady. Omar greeted each with quiet pride. Maya's eyes widened slightly. She'd never received an audience at her own entrance. "I wanted to show you," she said softly. "Not in a clinic, but here, where I got better." They followed her to the garden path, now lined with chairs for a small ceremony. No red carpet, no speeches, just a simple circle of support. Her father, Maya Williams, Lena, Rosa, and the clinic team. Maya stepped to the center and placed her cane aside. She didn't make a speech. She closed her eyes, breathing in the scent of rain, damp soil, and roses. "You all helped me hear my own voice," she began. "Today I step without fear, not because I am whole, but because I know I am not alone." She took a step forward, then another. No one clapped, but Lena's hands trembled slightly. Rose's shoulders relaxed, and Omar's chest rose as if he too was breathing again. They created a semicircle around her. Maya took the cane in each hand. Careful. This wasn't performance. It was declaration. "Medicine helped," she continued. "Therapy helped, but what saved me was you." She paused. Someone listened. Someone stayed. Someone believed. She looked at Williams. "You believed when no one else spoke. At her father, you let me teach you how to be my father again. To Lena, you folded hope in paper. To Rosa, you kept the garden alive while I lay silent. To the clinic team, you honored the choice I made to heal on my terms. A hush fell. Then Williams knelt to pick up the cane and handed it back. No longer a crutch, but a symbol. Maya took it with a nod. I walked forward with this. Yes. But what moves me is this circle. She moved slowly around the circle using her cane but supported only by herself in their presence. By the time she returned to the center, her voice broke with emotion. I don't know what comes next, but I know I can walk it with you. Her father came forward and hugged her gently, careful not to hurt her arm. Williams wrapped them both in a clasping embrace that included Lena and Rosa in the circle. Outside, the morning sun broke through the clouds. The garden brightened, the roses lifted against the sky. They stood together in silence, grateful, hopeful, connected. Later, as the staff returned to their duties, Lena placed one last origami horse at the edge of the path, golden, folded from metallic paper. She smiled, whispering. For every beginning, Maya watched from the window, came beside her. She wasn't done healing. But she was forever changed. A ceremony without pomp, yet full of grace. A story not ended, but woven into every patient step she'd take thereafter. A life declared not by a fall, but by 1,000 beginnings. Morning sun warmed the rose garden, now vibrant with new blooms. Maya Al-Rashid stood at the garden's edge, cane in hand, sketchbook in her other. The golden origami horse from their ceremony lay nestled at her feet. But today, her focus wasn't on stepping forward. It was on seeing beyond what she'd already done. Downstairs, Sheikh Omar paused by the foyer mirror that once reflected only his tired face. He adjusted his cufflinks with care and watched Ma's sketchbook reflection. The image on the page showed a winding path that ended at no visible destination. He closed his eyes, letting the weight of unspoken worries press through him. In the kitchen, Maya Williams poured mint tea with Rosa by her side. The aroma of fresh herbs filled the room and Lena hovered nearby, clutching folded origami, waiting. Rosa cleared her throat. She wants to do more than walk, she said softly. Williams nodded. She wants purpose. Do you think she'll ask? She always does. Outside, Maya knelt by the golden horse, tracing its folds. She touched the path drawn in her book and inwardly willed it to stretch further across continents into lives beyond the mansion's gates. She took a deep breath. Maya, Williams called, stepping forward. There's someone here to see you. Maya looked up. A woman in her late 60s, silver-haired and elegant, emerged from the house. She wore a tailored suit and carried a leather portfolio. This is Dr. Carter, Williams said. I invited her. She works with veterans and trauma survivors. Dr. Carter smiled kindly at Mia before addressing Omar and Williams. Thank you for allowing me here, she said. I understand you're looking beyond physical recovery. Mia rose carefully, cane steady in hand. I want to help people like me, she said slowly, each word deliberate. Walk beside them. Give them a voice. Dr. Carter nodded. That's exactly why I came. I'm building a community center here in Beverly Hills. Free rehab, counseling, vocational training for women who've suffered physical or emotional trauma. I'd like you to be part of it as a peer mentor. Maya's breath caught. She turned to her father. Omar's face was composed, but pride shone in his eyes. He inclined his head. Do you want to do that? He asked. Mia lowered her gaze for a moment, then looked up. Yes. Dr. Carter stepped forward, extending her hand. Welcome to something bigger, Maya. As their hands met, a connection formed, one extending beyond recovery toward service. That evening, they sat in the drawing room. Maya sketched plans in her notebook for the center. Chairs formed a circle around her. Williams with her tea. Omar with his weighty silence. Dr. Carter with gentle guidance. Lena with folded origami roses for the sense entrance. Rosa with fresh herbs for a healing garden they would plant. Maya drew rooms labeled art therapy, yoga studio, shared kitchen, counseling space. She paused, hesitated, then sketched a rose arch entrance. It felt right. Williams spoke softly. This will need funding, coordination. Omar raised a hand. I can help with funding. Maya looked at him. Recognition, gratitude, respect. You'll be our board, he said to Williams and Dr. Carter. And I'll underwrite initial setup. Maya's eyes filled. Baba, he shook his head. No, you earned this. You deserve this. Dr. Carter smiled broadly, paper clicking in delight. Well, hire staff, therapists, collaborate with hospitals. You'll mentor, share your story. Maya looked down, her cane leaned like a silent witness. What if I'm not ready to talk to groups? You don't have to lead, Williams reassured her. Start small, one-on-one. Just show up. Maya nodded, breathing in their belief. It felt less like recovery and more like purpose. Days passed in planning. The center took shape. Rosa mapped out the herb garden. Lena folded more origami horses for the waiting room. Maya sketched her own room design before pausing to step outside without cane on the garden path. She closed her eyes and inhaled. In the foyer, Omar watched staff chairs, box of sunflower seeds, old photos of Maya writing. He touched each item, letting memory mix with new dreams. That evening, Omar found Maya and Williams in the garden. Lena hung paper horses from a rose bush. She's welding her own anchor, Omar said. I'm glad. Williams looked at her own hands. She's walking into herself. Maya approached them. I want you both in the center with me. Omar put his arm around her. Always. Williams smiled. Of course. Under gray sky, they planted the first rose white, strong. Lena tied an origami horse to the stem. Rosa sprinkled jasmine seeds around it. Dr. Carter whispered a dedication. Maya placed her hand on the soil. For every step that brought me here, for every soul who needs a companion when their world stopped, they stood together in a circle and each placed a touch on the rose. In that moment, something shifted. A house became a hub. A broken path became a map. A fall became a foundation. And Maya al-Rashid, once afraid to take a step, was planting seeds of healing, justice, and service. A new chapter had begun. Morning light spilled across the garden as the community center team gathered for their first planning meeting. The newly planted rose bush wrapped gently with origami horses and jasmine-sprinkled soil stood as a quiet sentinel just beyond the French doors. Inside, Maya al-Rashid sat at the head of the table with her cane leaning nearby. By her side were Maya Williams, Sheikh Omar, Lena Rosa, and Dr. Carter. The air hummed with shared purpose healing, ready to be extended outward. Dr. Carter opened a worn notebook. Today we finalize layouts, staffing needs, and timelines. Our goal is open doors in 3 months, serve 50 clients by the end of the year. She paused, looking at Maya. Are you up for that? Mia smiled quietly. We'll get there, one step at a time. Sheikh Omar cleared his throat. Funding is secured. I'll arrange partnerships with local hospitals and veteran groups. He paused, shifting uncomfortably. This center, it's more than just rehab, isn't it? Yes, Maya said softly. We heal souls, not just bodies. We build community. Williams nodded. We'll offer peer support groups, trauma, informed yoga, arts, vocational workshops. She motioned to Lena, who placed origami alongside the Yamaha keyboard in the corner. Every creative expression will be welcome. Lena blushed. I folded horses for the entrance, but I can teach crafts, too. Rosa chimed in. Herbs, gardening, kitchen work. We can feed participants and teach sustainability. Dr. Carter wrote it all down, organizing ideas into categories. Excellent. Now, operations. Who will manage daily schedules, client intake, community outreach? Omar spoke up. Maya, you peer mentorship. I'll arrange advisors. Dr. Carter, you can run clinical oversight. Williams, you'll direct healing programs. He looked at each in turn. Rosa handles the garden therapy. Lena assists with crafts and community events. Maya exhaled, proud yet humbled. I accept. Afternoon arrived. The prospective center building lay less than a mile from the mansion, a converted townhouse donated by a local philanthropist. They walked through together. Front room is reception. Back room is therapy space. Basement storage. Small kitchen for communal meals. Maya paused in therapy room. She touched the wall. Here we'll meet talking circles. She pointed next to large windows. This corner for art. Then she moved to the small kitchen. Rosa, you'll cook here. The team followed her vision, adding desks and seating, soft rugs, accessible counters, jars of herbs on shelves. They left with a shared blueprint, lines drawn in notebooks, hearts aligned on outreach. Maya walked outside, cane tapping on pavement. She closed her eyes, the building behind her already humming with future voices seeking healing. Evening fell gently inside the mansion. Sheikh Omar and Maya Williams shared tea in the study. The estate felt softened, a reflection of what had begun within its walls and beyond. He looked tired but animated. The donor meeting is tomorrow, city council members, public officials. He paused. I want to stand beside you. Williams placed a comforting hand over his. You will, and I'll be there to support you both. Maya entered, carrying her sketchbook. She sat next to them. On the open page was a drawing of the community sense layout rooms labeled gently, hearts marking gathering spaces. I drew today, she said. It's not perfect, but it's ours. Omar looked at it, his chest tight. Perfect enough. Later that night, Maya Williams tucked into bed, waiting for sleep to come. She thought about beginnings. How walls fall not with hammers, but with gentle openings of trust. How bridges rise not from steel, but from shared vulnerability. Her phone vibrated, a text from Nia's old friend in Selma. Your daughter's center inspired us to open ours. Proud of you. She closed her eyes, tears slipping silently. This is for you, she whispered to Nia. The next day, the donor meeting took place in a stately downtown conference room. Council members, healthcare executives, nonprofit leaders, and veterans themselves gathered. A projector displayed slides, mission, community need, projected clients, funding gaps, volunteer opportunities. When Mia stood, cane in hand, she addressed the group. I'm not here as a patient or a success story. I'm here as part of a community. I stand because people didn't give up on me. They listened. They stayed. They believed. This center is more than bricks and programs. It's a place where people who feel erased can find voice again. Her voice was steady. Each word a foothold behind her. Omar stood proud. Williams and Dr. Carter proud too. When she finished, the room was quiet, then warm applause. Hands raised. Support pledged. A city official spoke. This center promises healing and community cohesion. We're honored to support it. A veteran in the back nodded. I see hope here. Maya allowed herself a small smile. That evening, back at the mansion, they celebrated quietly. Lena brought a homemade carrot cake. Rosa brewed mint tea. The origami horses participated lined along the dining table. Symbols of journeys begun as they ate and laughed softly. The mansion itself seemed to breathe easier. The walls that once echoed pain now held stories of compassion, courage, and emerging justice. Maya leaned into Williams. Thank you for staying when it mattered. Williams hugged her. We walked together. Omar raised his glass. Two beginnings. They clinked cups softly. Outside, the garden glowed under lamplight. The rose they planted still bloomed. Its petals wrapped around the origami horse, proof that even after shadows pass, new light can root and grow. In the quiet joy of their circle, they realized true healing happens not just within walls, but within hearts. And walls fell down because bridges were raised. One act of compassion, one shared trust, one step at a time. Morning dawned with a crisp clarity. Sunlight streamed across the community center's front windows, illuminating signs that read Hope and Hooves Community Center, and welcomed visitors with warmth. Inside, volunteers arranged chairs in a semicircle, labeled therapy rooms, and stocked the herb shelf with Rose's fragrant jars. Maya Al-Rashid entered deliberately, her cane tapping confidently. She wore a simple blouse and slacks, smooth ponytail, eyes steady with purpose. She paused by the entrance, greeted first client Eva, a military veteran with a prosthetic leg, nervous energy visible in quick movements. Her mother, Maria, hovered nearby, concern in her eyes. Maya approached them both. Kane left leaning against the wall. "Welcome," Maya said softly. "I'm Maya. If you like, I'll walk with you inside." Eva's gaze flicked to the cane, then back. She nodded. "Okay." Together, they stepped into the reception area. Volunteers offered water and smiles. Everywhere, origami horses and rose bouquets marked the promise of healing. The Scent's daily schedule had been crafted carefully. Opening circle, trauma, informed yoga, art therapy, peer support, shared meals. Today was a soft launch serving 10 women invited by Drive Carter's team, each with stories that carried weight. The circle began in the front room. Chairs formed a gentle arc. As participants arrived, Eva, Maria, Jen, a former journalist recovering from a car accident, and Aisha, a refugee needing community, the atmosphere held controlled anticipation. Maya stood at the front. She cleared her throat quietly. "Good morning. I'm grateful to see you all. We stand here together today physically, emotionally, spiritually. Our bodies may carry scars, but our voices can carry healing." She paused, scanning the faces. "You don't have to speak today. You're welcome to listen, to sit, to be, but I also promise this space is safe. No judgment, no expectation, just presence." Silence followed respectfully. Then Aisha leaned forward, voice soft. "Thank you." Jen wiped her eyes. "I needed this." Maya nodded gently. "Whenever you're ready, we begin." The yoga room filled next. Soft mats, bolsters, chairs arranged. An instructor guided gentle movements, lifting arms, stretching sides, breathing deep. Maya sat in a chair at the back, encouraging participants as they moved, offering a nod or smile. For Eva, movements were awkward but earnest. For Maria, they were tears and release mixed in the same breath. Maya observed silently, pride swelling quietly. Here they were, women curved by pain, but uncurled by courage. Every breath a negotiation between hurt and hope. Art therapy followed in the next room. Mason jars of paint laid out. Jana, a social worker, invited everyone to draw a symbol representing their journey. Eva began painting horse hooves in sand. Maria sketched mountains. Jen created a phoenix. Aisha painted broken chains. Maya came in, adding her own drawing, a rose arch with small steps beneath. She didn't say anything. She just placed her pencil down and stepped toward Eva. "It's beautiful," she whispered. Eva looked up, surprised. "How did you?" Mia shook her head. "You painted hope." They exchanged a quiet smile. A light lunch followed in the kitchen. Rosa and Lena prepared wraps, mint tea, carrot salad. Participants served themselves, gathered around homemade tables. Soft chatter filled the air. Stories of struggle, grief, small sparks of resilience. Mothers shared goals for themselves or their children. Veterans offered nods of recognition. Refugees spoke of new lives, old wounds. Maya sat with them, her cane tucked beside her chair. She asked few questions yet listened to many answers. Every nod, every understanding glance foundation built. Sheikh Omar joined briefly, offering water jugs and soft words. His presence was steady, respectful. He didn't intrude, only supported. The afternoon brought peer mentoring sessions. Maya stood in a circle with Eva and Maria. They discuss triggers, loud noises, sudden movements that reminded Eva